So we're back at pitch side at Laureus, and look who I've got with me.
Hello.
Latest Academy member.
Number 69.
Number 69. How does that sound? It's Bryan Habana, by the way.
So Bryan Habana, former South African rugby player. For those who don't know me.
And now hardworking.
And now
corporate man.
I'd balance corporate with hardworking.
Okay, fair enough.
If my bosses are listening, I don't know if this counts as my 20 days leave a year in the employee contract that I needed to sign. But yeah, it's been good. It really feels surreal. I walked into that academy meeting yesterday on my induction, and just looking around the room, the sporting legends like that, my heroes that just dominated sports in so many different fields, throughout the last 60, 70 years. It's incredible. It's just so incredible and extremely humbling. I also want to say I don't, feel fitting enough to be in there. And again, I've been a Laureus ambassador for 11 years, and I think for me, the academy's always been like this star-studded elite group of sporting icons, and they sort of steer the ship. And as ambassadors, you get to just follow in their footsteps. Now I'm sort of in that front boat, and it's really weird.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. I didn't mean to be rude, but I was scrolling on my phone because I actually wanted to find something. This photo, so you won't be able to see it here, but we'll post it on the stream. But there's a photo of this beautiful staircase. This might be at the Ritz, perhaps.
Yeah.
And there's all these amazing sporting legends lined up down the side. I think is that Brian O'Driscoll?
No, Brian's not. It's the Sergei Bubka. I mean, it's everyone. There's
and there's you in the middle. There's this huge smile. I heard you were fairly emotional.
Yeah, it's emotional because, well, first and foremost, when I got down the first time, I was really scared they were going to start playing the wedding waltz. It did seem a little bit weird, and then I got down to the bottom, and the camera was like, "Oh, can we do that again?" I'm like, "We're not doing that again." And then Sean Fitzpatrick was like, "No, we're doing it again." I'm like, "Mr. Fitzpatrick, no, please, no, I really want the earth to open up and swallow me whole." I don't, and again, it's not about being humble. It's not about thinking I'm not good enough. It's just, it's surreal, and you look on left and your right, and you're like Nadia Comaneci, the first ever woman to score perfect 10, Edwin Moses, Michael Johnson, Boris Becker, Tanny Gray Thompson, Daley Thompson, Sergei Bubka. I'm like, marvelous Marvin Hagley, and you're like, is this even true? And I think for me, it's not about being humble. It's about just having so much respect and adoration for these sporting icons that have given so much joy from a sporting perspective, but more so as Laureus Academy members, using this platform of sport to change the world. And I think that's been so incredibly powerful. And I was finishing school when it started back in 2000, and I hear the stories of Nelson Mandela coming to that boardroom with 28 or 29 academy members and their jaws dropping. And I'm like, how am I a part of this? I've never in my wildest dreams, when I picked up a rugby ball and played for the King Edward under 14G side for the first time ever, thought...
Position, which position?
Scrum off. Two
yeah.
scrum offs in a position. You don't have to be that good at maths to know it wasn't quite the way I wanted the fairy tale to start out. But you sit there thinking, I was in that room, I'm like so amazed, so mesmerized by the stories you start hearing. You listen to Mike Horn and his epic adventures. We talked at the academy meeting last night about his last trip. 30 days on the Arctic without sunshine. We saw a video of him, infrared video, falling into ice, and he tells us about he had to make a decision about whether he was going to use that as a life or death moment. And rugby has never made me think about life or death. And all of a sudden you have one of, if not the best explorer the world has ever seen, telling you these vivid images. And then someone like Sergei Bubka saying, we all need to tell our stories because this is so inspirational. I'm like, I've played rugby for 16 years, scored a couple of tries, played a couple of test matches, but it's incredible. So I'm still memorized, still floating quite high at the moment. And I think, having been an ambassador for 11 years, and the academy and the awards are just the tip of the iceberg. 6 million kids, have been affected in some way or other positively over the last 20 years. 150 million euros raised. Partners like Daimler, MUFG that have just come on board, IWC. There's, it's incredible, and I think for me to hopefully carry on that legacy. And it's not about what has happened over the last 20 years. And sitting in that academy meeting, it's really what's going to happen in the next 20, 40, 100 years, and that excites me. I'm one of I'm one of the youngest. Someone like Missy Franklin beat me by a couple of years. Her induction last year,
it might be nearly 10, right?
We don't have to go into specifics, Mr. Smyth. We don't have to go into specifics.
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking at some of the numbers. I think there are only 4 rugby union players before you, so you become the 5th. There are only 4 South Africans. I think you're the 4th, if I'm not mistaken. Mike Horn, Morne du Plessis, and Gary Player.
Yeah.
I nearly said Sir Gary Player. And Bryan Habana. I mean, it is, like you've alluded to, it is special. There's a distinctly South African flavour to the awards this year in some respects, not just you, but there's always a big travelling South African contingent, which is amazing to see. We chatted to Maps Maponyane earlier, who's an ambassador, and the Springboks in this team of the year, they're one of the finest nominees. I mean, we know that, you are a World Cup winner, and you would have been asked this a number of times, but just looking back on that moment, just see us standing there with his team.
Yeah, I don't actually want to think back at that moment because I got quite emotional on international TV. And I got emotional in that week, talking about the Sia story. I got emotional post that win, getting to embrace Sia and hug him and just know what it means. And
so here's a question to interrupt your train of thought. So Timmy is how old?
5.
Did he watch it? Does he know? Does he understand? Because we kind of at that point, right?
Yeah, he's got a bit of understanding, and I was alone in Japan, so his mom probably didn't put on the Rugby World Cup final for him at home. But I took him to go see Sia and the Springboks come to Cape Town and parade the trophy. And I look back, when I was there in '95. Again, I was 6 or 7 years older, but just seeing people together, seeing unification, seeing inspiration and hope, and people coming together to celebrate achievement by a group of men that had put their differences aside, dreamed incredibly big dreams, and worked extremely hard together to achieve those dreams. And standing there in Tokyo, in that Yokohama Stadium last year, and seeing what this group had achieved, and knowing the stories of Makazole Mapimpi, who would walk 10 kilometers to and from school every day just to try get an education, try be active, try not fall into a trap of gangsterism or the mundane of poverty. Lucanio Beeson Torero has had to cross borders to fulfill his dream. A Trevor Nyankane, a Herschel Yankees, a Sia Khaleesi, who, when I was winning a World Cup in 2007, was watching it in a shebeen, which is like a little shanty type environment where people get very drunk in the local townships. But he was there because his granny couldn't afford to have a TV in their home. And he, unlike me, who grew up worrying about what brand of rugby boot I was going to wear, what type of rugby ball I wanted, or ball, or sport, Sia was wondering about where his next meal is coming from. And I think I got emotional in that final week just because I actually took myself into that position of having to think like what it'd be like to worry about where your next meal is coming from. And again, when you become a dad, when you have kids and you just want the best for them and you want to give them everything, and someone like Sia, his mom had him when she was 14, she died a few years later, got raised by, like, he didn't have what I had. And you get emotional because Sia and that story in its specificity deals with more than just the 4 lines in which you play the game of rugby. And Sia in particular transcended those 4 lines. His leadership, his story, his inspiration transcended more than just the boundaries that rugby puts in place. And I think the beauty of that is that, you look back to 20 years ago when Nelson Mandela stood on that stage and he said sport has the power to change the world. No more so was it evident in that group of guys coming together as a Springbok side and winning it in Japan last year. So if I was a Academy member before this actual awards, I probably would have voted with the most biasness in the world for the Springboks. They're up against some really stiff competition, unfortunately. But we were here in 2008 as a team that had won the World Cup. And I remember that night incredibly vividly because I got into the same environment where I was like, there's Roger Federer, Is that young Lewis Hamilton guy who's now going to dominate the Formula One circuit? Is that the Klitschko brothers? Is that this? Is that Tony Hawk? I'm like, is that Danny Gray Thompson? Is that? I'm like, oh. So, and I actually said to Bucky's, I said, listen, I know that we're also in the spotlight, but I'm going to unashamedly fanboy as hard as I can in St. Petersburg. And I'll never forget, we were trying to take photos of Vladimir Putin, and his security guards came to us immediately. We were so scared, not knowing what to do. But yeah, hoping that Sia and the Springbok side, I think Jock Nidal was here in representation as a coach. I think there's Skalk Brits, Francois Lowe, and there's quite a few, again, that rugby feel. Butch James, a Laureus ambassador in South Africa, Jean de Villiers, Laureus ambassador. There's a very enjoyable Springbok feel about this thing, and I'm really hoping that they get to experience the acknowledgement on the world's greatest sporting accolade stage, walking up on that stage and getting given that honour. Because I think they fully deserve it, because that sports euphoria has been so amazing in South Africa. 2
quick final questions before you go. I know you're a pretty big user of social media. Have you seen the videos that Rusty's been posting? Rusty Erasmus, Springbok?
I saw the one, the first one I think he posted of the team talk. I'm not sure which team talk it was, or with the board and chatting about it.
I mean, you know him pretty well.
It's quite entertaining, but quite Rusty, to be brutally honest. Rusty doesn't beat around the bush. He tells the thing like it is, and I think where this team went on a journey over the last 19 or so months, from 2018 to winning that World Cup on the 2nd of November. Rusty played his part in getting everyone together, and again, he was pretty straight and thorough. There's things that potentially happened because people weren't in line, and other guys got opportunities where they potentially shouldn't have, and those guys then maximised that. So, obviously, given the rumours that Rusty is a very sought-after man globally, not just in South Africa. He has had a stint in Munster, and he is a pretty revered coach around the world. He's probably, and I've worked with Rusty a little bit from the Stormers' perspective. He contracted me when I went down to Cape Town back in 2009, and as a player, he was probably one of the most forward-thinking tacticians in the world, analysing, studying, doing all these things about the game, wanting to be innovative. And I think that has transcended. People will not easily forget him standing on top of Bloemfontein Stadium with these cards, and all players looking up. What is that? Just thinking out of the box, and he did things differently. And the Boks definitely weren't rated the favourites going into that final, and they just plodded along doing things they needed to do. People underrating them, and those speeches typically embody what Rusty Erasmus was all about. And now he's got a track record that says he's won a Rugby World Cup as the Springbok coach, which is pretty cool.
Brian, on that note, I did want to ask you one other question, but I know that you're really busy. It was about Toulon and some of the changes that are going there, but that's probably more hard news. So let's leave that for now.
That's very hard news.
Yeah,
very
exactly.
hard news.
So,
I haven't been there, mais si tu peux faire les interviews en français, on peut.
Ouais.
Ouais?
No.
Oui.
Oui.
Oui. Not way. No, oui.
Okay, away.
Away, yeah.
On that note, we're away. Bryan Habana, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, everybody. Pitchside Laureus. Keep a check out.
Go and check it out for the live stream throughout. But Bryan, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smyth.
Great to see you.
Enjoy the cold weather.
The 69th Academy member.
Number 69.
Cheers.